We started our examination of the relationship between movie content, movie form, and movie meaning by looking at film form in very general terms. As was mentioned briefly in our last video, a movie's form is made up of both its narrative structure and its use of stylistic elements, mise-en-scène, cinematography, editing, and sound. This week, we are going to continue our study of the relationship between movie content, movie form, and movie meaning by focusing specifically and in detail on just one single aspect of film form, narrative structure. Narrative structure is the element of film form that has to do with how the movie's story is organized and brought to life on screen. It encompasses decisions about the way that the movie script is written, as well as how the movie is shot and edited, and how sound is used to help tell the story. While movies, TV, streaming series, and some video games all tell stories, the way that they structure those stories is different, and the specific structure that movie stories use is one of the other things that makes movies different from these other kinds of media. Most Hollywood movies follow a 3-act structure. Act 1, or the exposition, establishes the setting of the movie and introduces audiences to the main characters. On average, the exposition covers the first 15 to 20 minutes of the film, sometimes less, and culminates in the inciting incident, the event that disrupts the status quo, the normal state of affairs for the movie world and/or its main character, and sets the plot of the movie in motion. Most of the plot unfolds over the course of Act 2, which is generally the bulk of the running time of the movie. Most Hollywood movie plots revolve around the main character, or protagonist, trying to successfully reach a goal of some kind. Solve a crime, stop a terrorist attack, save the world from an impending disaster, get the object of their affection to fall in love with them, etc. In Act 2, a series of complications are introduced that make it more difficult for the protagonist to meet their goal, and that the protagonist has to overcome in order to do so. Act 2 leads up to the climax of the film, which comes at the beginning of Act 3, and is the moment or event that decides whether or not the protagonist meets their goal. Along with the climax, Act 3 contains the resolution of the story. All of the major plot points are wrapped up, and a new status quo is established. Not all movies end in this way, though. Some, like Inception, have more open endings, where major plot points are deliberately left unresolved, and it is left up to the audience to draw their own conclusions about how the story actually ends. This 3-act structure is specific to movies, and in terms of media, only movies. TV and streaming series, for example, typically follow a 5-act structure that was originally developed to accommodate for the commercial breaks on broadcast TV networks. Acts 1 through 4 generally end on a cliffhanger in order to try to get audiences to tune back in at the end of the commercial break. Even TV programming that airs on pay cable networks like HBO, or streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon that don't have commercial breaks, still tend to use this 5-act structure. And in fact, if you are familiar with it, you can spot the act breaks even without the commercials. While almost all narrative films use the 3-act structure, there are different ways of organizing movie stories and presenting them to audiences within that structure that are unique to each individual film. This is what we are referring to when we talk about narrative structure as an aspect of film form. The reading for this week discusses all of the elements that make up a movie's narrative structure. As the reading explains, a movie's narrative is made up of a chain of events linked by cause and effect that occur in particular settings over a specific span of time. In most Hollywood movies, each scene in the movie depicts one event that makes up one link in that chain. The event that happens in the first scene causes something else to happen in the second scene, which then causes something else to happen in the third scene, and so on until we get to the end of the movie. Movie narratives, this chain of cause and effect, are made up of both the movie's plot and its story. We tend to use all three of these terms, narrative, plot, and story, interchangeably when we talk about movies. But for screenwriters, the people who write movie scripts, those terms all have very specific meanings that, while related, are all different. A movie's plot is all of the events in the narrative that we see happen on screen. A movie's story includes the plot, plus events that are referenced in the film but not shown on screen, as well as events that are not shown on screen or referenced in the film, but that we assume happened based on what we do see take place on screen. For example, if we are watching a scene in a movie where two characters are discussing something that happened in the past, but all we see on screen is them having this conversation, the conversation about the past is part of the plot of the film. The past event that they are discussing is part of the story. It is a narrative event that is referenced in the film, but that we don't ever see take place on screen. Likewise, if we are watching a movie and we see a shot of a character waking up, then cut to a shot of that same character dressed and getting on the bus, we might assume that in the gap in the time between these two shots, the character picked out clothes, got dressed, left his house, and walked to the bus stop. We don't see any of those things happen on screen, and no one ever talks about them. But we assume that they happened based on what we do see. In this example, the plot is the character wakes up and then catches the bus. The story is the character wakes up, picks out his clothes, gets dressed, leaves the house, goes to the bus stop, and catches the bus. Which story events are included in the plot and are shown on screen is one of the decisions that screenwriters make about a movie's narrative structure. So is how both plot and story information are communicated. More on that in a minute. Narrative structure also includes decisions about a movie's temporal order, the order in which plot events are shown on screen, temporal duration, the amount of time covered by the movie's story, as well as the amount of time covered by the plot events that we see unfold on screen, and temporal frequency, the number of times that individual plot events are shown on screen. These aspects of film form are all explained in detail in the reading for this week. There are also different options for temporal order, temporal duration, and temporal frequency that are discussed in the reading as well, and that we will be discussing further as part of class this week. Decisions about narration are the final elements of film form that are part of a movie's narrative structure. Narration is the way that the movie story is told to the audience. It includes the range of narration, how much story information the audience is given, and when and how they learn that information, as well as the depth of narration, how much insight, if any, we are given into characters' thoughts, feelings, and motivations. Narration also includes decisions about whether or not to use a narrator to provide story information via voiceover narration on the soundtrack, as well as which kind of narrator to use. There are different options for both range and depth of narration, as well as for types of narrators, all of which are also discussed in the readings for this week, and which we will likewise be discussing as part of class this week. All of these different aspects of narrative structure are things that we consider when we do narrative analysis. In other words, when we do narrative analysis, we are analyzing the story the movie tells, what happens in the story, what and who the story is about. But we are also analyzing the form that the movie story takes and how it is told on screen. Our next movie analysis will give us a chance to see how this works in practice, as well as give us some practice in recognizing all of the different elements that make up a movie's narrative structure, and considering how they contribute to our understanding of the movie's story, as well as the larger meanings that we interpret from that story.